But thank you for staying for the afternoon time. We won't keep you here all afternoon, but I do want to take some time just to show you some highlights of what's coming, and also talk a little bit about the building project that we are seeking God for wisdom concerning. So the kids are all with us. They should have their activity packets, but I've got pictures, kids, too, okay? So Josh told me I should start with Once Upon a Time, and I'd be all good. That's a good idea. All right. Well, what I'd like to do again is just remind us that our vision, as we saw this morning in the morning service, our vision needs to be focused through our church's mission. All right. The vision and the mission can't go two different ways. The mission has already charted our course, and the vision that God gives us will also be in line with that. So our church's mission is to exalt Christ through our church and everything that we do, giving Him the glory, advancing His church, so not my church, not what I want it to be, not what each of us want it to be individually, but what does He want it to be? And advance His church here in this community, and then nurture families. We want to be able to nurture families. This needs to be a place that is safe, where we can trust each other, where we can grow together and be unified, and from anyone from newborn to glory, as they say, can be nurtured together and engage the world. We're engaging the world with the gospel. And our mission here is to be a light. And I think it's kind of neat how we are set up on a hill. It just happens to be that way. Our church is up on a hill, and it should always remind us that Jesus said, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid." And He said, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." So that's our fourfold mission: to exalt Christ, to advance His church, to nurture families, and to engage the world. Along that line, we have some things I'd like to highlight. Now, in years past, I've taken you through the entire calendar, and it took a long time. And you folks were very gracious, and I got some very kind feedback. Maybe can we do that just a little bit faster, just slightly? So the church calendar is over there where Rachel is. Behind her is the table with the church calendar. Pick one of these up. It's front and back, and it's got the highlights of each month, okay? And I'm not going to go through all the highlights of every month. You can do that, and I would encourage you to go ahead and stick those things on your personal calendar, your family calendar, and be here for some of our exciting events that are coming up this year. Bible Adventure Camp every year in the summer is a great time of encouragement and evangelism, and so grab one of these. But I do want to give just a couple of highlights. I think I'm highlighting 3 events, is it? Or maybe it's 4. But 3 things from the year so far that are unique to this year. And the first is we're going to have a Creation Sunday on February the 23rd, 2020 with Dr. Berea. How many of you were here the last time he was here? See your hand? Okay, excellent. Several of you. If you don't know who he is, here's a couple of pictures of him and his wife. And he has been used of the Lord in various churches to preach concerning creation. And I believe the last time he was here, but Jason, I'm putting you on the spot. Come up here and tell us what happened last time. He got into the university, got some unique opportunity. I didn't ask Jason for this, but he's always ready.
This was not last time. This would have been because we've had him several times. Okay. So, but at one point we had him through. We actually had he has some connections at the University of Michigan, and he went over there, and we had challenged some of our U of M students that would come into church as well. And one of the professors in evolutionary science there at the University of Michigan challenged his folks there who are master's, PhD students, come and hear this guy. Come and hear what he has to say, and then I want you to come back to class and be able to refute what you heard. So come with a critical mind. And it was packed. I remember that I didn't sit down. I wasn't in the auditorium. There was not room for me. We were full, and it was what year would that have been?
I know, like 2005.
Yeah, this was in the old church.
Oh.
This is in the old church. So it was packed out, And it was the students stayed. They had a special Q&A time with him as well. Ultimately, when the students came back, they weren't able to refute a thing that they heard. So the professor extended an invitation for Dr. Bria to come and teach at his class, and he came and taught. And really, his point that he brought out was you can't refute what you heard, because what he has to say, really, it's amazing. He's a professor for evolutionary sciences. It aligns with science, the principles of science and observable science, and it was really a really spectacular thing. So I don't. Yeah. Okay. What's his name again? Wolpoff. And so yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Amen. Thank you, Jason. Excellent testimony. I have not met him personally, but I've heard from you folks and heard that story, and we had the opportunity to invite him back for another Creation Sunday. So pray about this, and we'll have cards made up. The staff is working on that to have some invitations made up so you can get these out. I know Andrew and Brandon will be working on getting these passed out through the CFC and try to get the CFC group to come and any friends that they have. But I'm praying that God will give us another open door like that one on the campus. So specifically, pray not just for our church, but pray that we'll have inroads into the campus through this somehow, that God would open up some doors. I think most of us here, I would imagine, would have no problem with we believe in creation, okay? So our point is not to have Brother Berea come and preach to the choir. We want him to come and have some guests here that he can interact with and challenge some of their thinking, and we trust see some people saved. So that's the prayer there, and stay on the lookout. That is February the 23rd, so it's coming right up. We'll have those cards out and available for you to pass out shortly, so be praying for that. Another event I want to highlight here is for the teenagers. So teens, do I have your attention, teenagers? All right, I think they woke up. Now, and this is not just for teens, let me say. We will need a lot of help with this, and I'll explain, but we're going to do an event called The War. The War is coming to Ann Arbor April 29th through May 4th. It is an exciting outreach for teenagers involving food competition and gospel preaching. Minutemen Ministries is one of the organizations that I was involved with when I was in evangelism, and I led a team like this one. There are 4 teams: the War of Special Forces, the War, the Cola Clash, and the Fizz Feud. They all did the same thing, different names. I did the Cola Clash, Brother Bosler did the War. And basically it's just 2 teams. You divide all the kids up into 2 teams. They play a bunch of games, and I'll show you the video. Here, listen to the video. This will do the whole thing for you. The video only shows the outdoor portion. I wish it had a video that showed what happens inside. There are more videos I could find. Maybe I'll put them on the Facebook, church Facebook or something. But the point is, the kids from the community, you divide them into 2 teams, Army and Navy. You do that kind of stuff outside, all right? Then you bring them in and you feed them. There's some comedy routines, skits, and so forth, some inside competition. And then at the conclusion of the time, you preach the gospel. I had the privilege of doing this for 6 years, I believe it was, and preached the gospel hundreds of times to thousands of teenagers. and see, I don't know how many saved, but it is a great tool of getting teenagers under the sound of the preaching. We believe the gospel is the power of God and salvation. And so, and we also believe the Bible says, faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. You're not going to get saved until you hear it. But I believe if you just can get people to a gospel hearing, they'll get saved. This is just a tool. You could use all kinds of tools. This is a tool to get people under the sound of the gospel so that they can come to know Jesus as Lord and Savior. Now, lest you think, I want to get ahead of this, lest you adults think, oh, this is for the teens, we get the week off. Wrong. In order to do something like this, we need a lot of help. All right, we need people in the kitchen. Thank you, Larry. We needed people in the kitchen. Several ladies helping with the food lines and so forth. We need people on the field. When I did it, I typically had 10 to 12, sometimes 15 men from the church helping these games. Didn't usually use the ladies out there, didn't want them getting trampled. But 10 or 15 guys helping with the games. We also needed a lot of men and women as counselors. At the end of the gospel message, we have a guy's counseling room and a ladies' counseling room. And usually I needed about 20 to 25 counselors. We wanted to get one-on-one. And oftentimes an invitation would have at least 20 kids that would respond. So add all that up. I wasn't adding, but that's a lot of people we could use. They will come in on a Wednesday night, and then he will present the ministry to us on Wednesday night. Thursday and Friday, they'll go out in the community and do recruiting. And we will need some of you to help with that. If you can provide a vehicle, or we'll have the buses, but small vehicles are better. And you can drive these guys around. They have a team, and the team is trained to go out and talk to kids and get them signed up for the event. Our teenagers will want to go along with them and help with that. Some of you might be a driver. And then Thursday, let's see, so Wednesday he kicks it off. Thursday they recruit. Thursday night and Friday night, Brother Bosler will do a meeting with those who want to help, be a referee, be a counselor, and he'll go through some training on Thursday and Friday. And then the event starts officially Saturday night, Sunday night, and Monday night. So Sunday night, you say, what are we doing Sunday night? We will have our regular service, like normal, and they will be in right here where I'm standing. This is where the teens will be on Sunday night doing their thing. Most of us, I would assume, will be here, and the regular service will probably be mostly a challenge and a prayer meeting for what's going on in here. That's what Sunday night will be. Monday night it will finish, and then we have work to do to follow up, and that's the exciting part, following up with the teens. I'm praying that the Lord will really give us a great attendance. Pastor CJ is pumped about this. Where is he at? Back in the back. Okay, he's in the back. But he's been asking me since he came here, he's been asking me, can we do one of these? And it just hasn't worked out. This year it worked out, and Brother Bosler had the meeting, the schedule open, and so I'm excited about it. So pray about this, and we'll have info on the website soon, and Brother Bosler will send us flyers and stuff that we can pass out. But I'm very encouraged about this. This, by the way, is taking the place of our spring revival meeting. Just so you all know, normally we have Brother Young in, or we've had different ones in. This is in place of the spring revival meeting. So again, I'm hoping that you won't see this as this is just the teens thing. No, come on out. We could use you. And I'd love to see our whole church be a part of the blessing. I did this in a church once where we came in and no one knew, it was a big church, no one knew we were there except for the teens, the teen workers, and a couple of parents. The rest of the church didn't even know what we were doing. We saw scores of kids saved. And it was like we were isolated in this little corner of the ministry. No one knew about it. And it just felt really weird. And I thought, this is not how it should work. And I don't want that to happen here. I want this to be a ministry, not just part of the teen ministry, but really that our whole church would benefit from, be blessed by. All right. So that's the second thing. Third thing I'm excited about is we're going to do a church camp this summer, August 13, 14, 15, and 16. at Camp Kobiak, and that's my brother and his wife. I've asked my brother to be the preacher for that event. Now you say, what is church camp? Church camp means we're renting the camp. There's nobody there but us. So if we don't show up, well, nothing happens. This is also in place of, normally in August, we have had the Christ Life Conference. This last year, Brother John did a revival meeting in place of the conference. And this year, the Lord has not burdened him to do a Christ Life Clinic this year. This would be a replacement, not a replacement per se, but we're doing this instead of the Christ Life Conference. This is kind of like our summer revival meeting. The Christ Life Clinic was always, for our church, we viewed it like a summer revival meeting. And this is going to be our summer revival meeting. Kobiak is, I think it's less than 2 hours away, if I'm or around 2 hours, something like that. It's close to 2 hours. They are working with us on the price. The price, I believe, is going to be very affordable. And I've also got some things I want to do to help everyone be able to go. So if cost is a problem, I am planning, just so you can prepare, I am planning to have a Sunday where we have a church camp Kobiak offering that will go toward helping those who cannot get their way there. I understand that it's going to be, well, there's kids' prices, adult prices, but and depending on if you can't be there for the whole time, but around, let's just say around 80, 90, 100, maybe even 110 per person. Now, the kids will get a break, and I don't have that in front of me. They were running the numbers and didn't get them to me in time for today. But I don't want someone to say, oh, $100, I can't go. First of all, they're giving us a great deal. But it's meals, everything. We have no cleanup. We have no setup. We have, the kitchen staff gets the time off. You know, what revival meeting have we had where the kitchen staff got the time off? The Christ Life Clinic, a lot of our kitchen staff missed half of the meetings because of all of the work that they did. This will be the first ever revival meeting where our church will have, no one will be serving anything. It'll be awesome. We're going to be able to just focus on being fed the word. I've talked to the camp staff. They love doing these events for churches. They will provide all of the work, all of the food. They will run all the games and everything so that we can just be there with our Bibles and our pens and hear from the Lord. I've talked to my brother a little bit about some of the burdens that he has, and I'm super excited about what he's going to be bringing. Just some very good, challenging messages that'll be right what our church needs, I believe. There are walking trails all over. It's a beautiful place to get alone with the Lord. But again, I mentioned this now. I'm stressing, please put this on your calendar or work things around so you can be there. It's one of those things where when I was an evangelist and I preached at church camp, it was always a special time. You're not at work. You're not rushing home, grabbing a bite to eat, making it to the meeting. You're just there. And you're not having to serve. You're just there walking with God. And sometimes some folks can't make it for whatever reason. And you really will feel like you've missed something. And I don't want anyone to feel like they missed out. So this is going to finish on Sunday. It'll go Thursday night, all day Friday, all day Saturday, or most of this day Saturday. Then we get back here, and then Sunday it finishes, all right? So it's Thursday night, Friday night. We're not there Saturday night. You're in your own bed Saturday night, and then Sunday. But it will be very important for you to not just be there Sunday. Try to be there all week if you can. Some folks maybe can't be there Thursday night. We'll get there Friday. Maybe you can't get there Friday. Get there Saturday. But be there for as much as you can. I wanted to show you this little video as well from the camp. Well, I thought I had a video. One second. Try this again. beautiful place, and it is a great place just to get alone with the Lord. The guys who were at the men's retreat last year enjoyed it. Our teens are going there in January, I believe it is, for the snow camp, and they have a great time every year. I really think that this camp is as like-minded with myself as any camp I've been around. A lot of times you go to camp, like, oh, that was great, but oh, I hated the music. The music was just awful. Or, it's a great camp, but they got the wrong Bible. Okay, well, that's important. It's a great camp, but the immodesty, or this or that other thing. With this camp, they're just really lockstep with where we're at as a church and a ministry, and have the same burden. I preached for Aaron Wilson before he was director here. I preached for him when he was the youth pastor in Saginaw, and got to know him then. Great guy, definitely like-minded. So I'm excited about this. We have the camp to ourselves to seek the Lord as a church, and I know that this is going to be a very, very important time for our church. So talk about that with your wife and make some plans. Maybe you have to get off of work for a Friday, but we're looking forward to that. Okay, just a couple. That's the highlights I wanted to give. I want to also just ask you to be praying about some ministries, and specifically I wanted to highlight one to pray for, and that is the bus ministry. And we have these bus flyers that you can hand out if you know of some kids in our bus area. But we have 3 buses that we have been given by the Lord, and it's a great privilege to be able to have this ministry that we're kind of relaunching. And Brother Ed Boss Ed Boss and Tyler Boss are going to be heading up our first bus. I'm excited about that, and they need your prayer. And I'm praying that God will grow the ministry. We can only grow as much as we have space, okay? But with what space we have on the buses and here in the church until we build, I'm just praying for God's direction, but looking forward to what God's going to do. We have outreach on Saturdays at this time of the year. Then when the days get longer, we have outreach on Monday nights. But if you would like to help with the outreach at 10 o'clock on Saturdays, see Ed and say, hey, what can I do? He'll probably say, show up on Saturday, and I'll put you to work. But we could definitely use some folks that would just go out in the community, talk to some of our current bus families, minister to them, as well as we're trying to find new contacts as well. But they're going to have their own bus Sunday school for starters, and then as they learn and are able to be integrated into the other classes, then those kids will graduate out of the bus class and into the other classes. For some of these kids, they've never been in church before, and so having a starting place for them to introduce them to the ministry is helpful. But if you could pray about that ministry, I would appreciate it. And if you would like to be involved, I know we've had this call before. If you want to drive, if you'd like to be involved, see myself or Brother Ed Boss, and we'd love to talk to you about that. All right, in the time that we have left, obviously, with ministries like this one, we were already packed, and now we're adding a bus Sunday school. So we need to make some accommodations for these ministries. And so we want to talk about the building that we have been discussing for the last few months. The Building God's Way, BGW. Building God's Way is the group that we've been working with. It's a architectural firm that also has partnerships with other Christian, faith-based building organizations. S&B Construction partners with them. These are the guys who built the, what do they call it? It's the gymnasium, but they have a different name for it, at Bob Jones University. What's it called? The Field House, thank you. The Field House at Bob Jones University. I've been there, it's amazing. They built that, and I didn't take time to put all of that in the presentation today. You can Google Building God's Way and look at the portfolio. But they know what they're doing, and they've built, I think it's over 800 churches and schools, and they specialize in churches. That's all they do. So when we work with them, we feel comfortable that they know kind of where we're going, what our needs are, and not going to overextend us. Their philosophy also is that they want all of God's sacrificial giving to be stewarded wisely. Every gift that you give, they take that very, very seriously. And so they came here. We had a charrette. I think I talked to you about that. A charrette is an architectural term, meaning it was a 3-day meeting of the minds to get some plans. They met with several of our building committee and staff and deacons. And it was fun just to kind of throw some visions around and talk about things and talk about our philosophy and what are the needs and how would this work together. And a couple of times they had different ideas than we had. And they'd pull the reins back a little bit on something. But they have been a blessing thus far as we've been seeking the Lord in this matter. One thing I'll mention right off the bat, why we're going with Building God's Way instead of doing it ourselves. Some have asked, why don't we just do it ourselves? You know, so-and-so's a plumber, and so-and-so's electrical, and so-and-so does construction. I have done a lot of research and talked to a lot of pastors, and you might be able to pinch some pennies doing it that way, but sometimes you lose money when you don't know about a certain permit. And I was talking to one pastor who they put in all the insulation, $20,000 on ceiling insulation, and then they had to tear it all out, throw it away because it wasn't the insulation that met the fire code. And they had to pay for a company to come spray in the correct fire-resistant foam insulation. It was like, I don't know, 20 more thousand or something like that. So sometimes you do it yourself, you think you can save money, but you may end up spending more money. And I don't want to burn you folks out. I've heard horror stories from some pastors recently about basically building the church building on the backs of the people and burning people out. We're doing this to help people, right? We're doing this to help nurture families, to advance this church. If I have a building where this is done, but you guys are all burnt out and mad at me and bitter or whatever, then we missed our mission. The mission is not to put up buildings. The mission is to reach people. So after praying, talking, discussing, we have decided that we're not going to try to build this ourselves. We're going to use, right now we're using Building God's Way, BGW, in conjunction with, what's it called? S&B Construction, thank you. And they are licensed in Michigan. They've done, was it Washtenaw Christian Academy? They did their gym. And they've done a couple of churches just around here. And we feel confident that they will do a good job. So I want to again give you the video once again. And then I'm going to take that video again and we're going to pause it. I'm going to point some things out and then start walking through the floor plan. Okay, now I want to start this over again, but pause at a couple of places. I'm going to have to be up here to pause it, I think. Actually, no, I can do it from the mouse. Okay, so a couple things to point out. This is a new opening, or a new entrance, I should say. And they have also planned to expand the foyer entryway behind here, where my office is. If you don't know where my office is, it's maybe I shouldn't say. We'll leave it a secret. But my office is all the way down at the farthest end of this whole area. What we would do is take my office from there and move it on this side. So it would, and they would reconfigure things so that it would not come out past that wall, the entryway. So that would allow, I'll do it this way, that would allow this area to be bigger, and you'll see that when we look inside. All right? So keep going here. Now again, they have designed a plan that encompasses all 40 acres. So this is a master plan. Doesn't mean that we're doing this all like that, all right? You don't design it in stages. You design the whole thing and then build it in stages. So don't get blown away like, what in the world? This is going to be $15 million or whatever. Well, it's not that much, but that could be close. No, we'll see. All right, so here, this is our current fellowship hall. I'm standing right about there. So you see, this is a new connecting area, which is connecting you to the gym and connecting you to this educational wing. This design, they recommended, as opposed to putting the classes around the gym, they recommended doing a separate wing because of security. For the main reason, security. This is the kids' wing, basically. Nurseries, toddlers, elementary, junior high, teenagers, all things youth right there. This would be where the adults do Sunday school. This would be youth. There is a welcome desk here. There can be someone to greet there. You can lock this down very quickly. You'll see when we look inside that you can lock this down. So if we wanted to have a secure place where you check in your kids, and there's kiosks, you'll see that, again, we'll look inside, there's kiosks to check in your kids and so forth, then that whole wing the idea is it's secure. It's not a thoroughfare where people are walking through it to get to the gym. But if we had the classes around the gym, you can't lock it down unless you lock the whole gym down. And that might not be what we want to do. We might want to have something going on in the gym for adults and be able to have this separate, okay? Also, another discussion as to why is if there ever was a daycare, which we're not necessarily at this point planning to do, or if we did anything like that, like some churches do date night for couples and let couples drop their kids off and go out and have a date night and make it a ministry, you'd want it to be kind of like a daycare, all right, as far as intact. So that's why there's two wings instead of one. Is more for the safety purpose there, all right? So we'll keep moving. And you see some chairs and areas there to sit. The gym does stick up some. Folks were asking about that, but the profile is not that bad. Honestly, the way they made it. Now here's the back side. Let me pause this. All right. A couple things to note. So this is kind of built like a lean-to. This is what's inside here, as you'll see, is bathrooms, locker rooms, showers, a couple of other rooms that can be used for storage or classrooms potentially. This is siding, not brick, on the back. This right here, this building, what is that? That is the mission house. You say, wait a minute, I thought we went away from the cabin in the woods. We talked about a cabin in the woods, remember? And we were going to put the cabin in the woods as a part of this building. The Building God's Way guys liked the cabin in the woods. Well, I like that too. Isn't that something? So they put it back on there. Now, part of the reason why we moved it was because getting electricity and so forth to it was just not cost prohibitive. They've got this worked out. If they come in and do all of this, they could put electricity over there and it wouldn't be that bad. So we've gone back to the original plan, which is a cabin. They don't have our woods extended out here, but that technically would be woods. This is like a baseball diamond. Not that we're going to necessarily do that right away, but a baseball diamond could go there. They've got walking trails all the way around the entire property as well. Over here, you can't really see it that well. That would be an RV parking slab Currently, we park an RV right here. We lose all of that parking. And we park an RV on the other side. And not only does it look bad, we lose the parking. They've got an RV parking in the back now. You can't see it, but there's a picnic gazebo as well that they put in there just to kind of give an idea of what could happen on the property. There is a walking trail that goes around the entire perimeter. Another shot of the front. All right, I want to back up. You've seen the gym already. I want to back up here. Let's see. Right there. So you see they've got a outdoor play area, and there's a fence all the way around it. Again, there's doors. You can't see it from this angle, but there's doors that allow you to get into the play area, so it's secure. All right, so kids can be in the secure area. They've been checked in. And if it's a nice day, the teachers can say, we're going to go outside, run off some steam, come back in, and you don't have to lose a kid, all right? So in this day and age, security in churches is just a big deal, and secure kids ministries is one of the most important things that people look for, so this would help provide us that. All right, I'm going to now try to get the floor plan on here, so bear with me as I get out of the PowerPoint.
Is it okay to shout?
Sure, brother, you can shout.
Yeah! Okay.
All right. Amen. And we're going to have, I trust, a lot to shout about as God gives victories along the way. All right. Pardon the PDF here. But, you know, I'm going to have to stand right here. I hope I'm not blocking everybody's view. All right, I'll back up. Okay, this is a little bit difficult, so I'm not blocking your view. But so this is our current building, and I'm going to show you the whole overview. Then I'm going to zoom in on some things. Okay, so here's our current building. What they've done down here, you might not be able to see it too well right now, is they have taken out the nursery wing and expanded this whole area into a foyer. Can you see that? I'll zoom in on it in a second. All of this will get zoomed in on. So you've got a big foyer here. Double doors instead of that bottleneck that we came through. They've expanded this. My office, they've taken it out and moved it over here. So the offices did get moved a little bit. This whole space is much more welcoming, bigger, more comfortable. And you can go straight in here, or you can come up. Our current fellowship hall, that's all the same. So you are here. All right. The kitchen, they've expanded that. So it's not quite doubled in size, but they have it going all the way into the new addition. Here's a new addition. This is a connecting lobby that gets you to the gym. It gets you to the educational wing. So you've got a couple of bathrooms and an extended, wait a minute, that's not a bathroom. That's a security office and some classrooms here. Bathrooms down here, and an extended kitchen. All right, here's a walkway that you saw in the overview, the fly-through. These are the kiosks. There's 1, 2, 3 kiosks. Can everybody see that okay? I know it's small. I'll zoom in a second, but there's a kiosk. This is a little coffee corner, all right? A little counter, cafe, coffee corner thing. So you got some space here that folks could sit or sit out at a table or whatever. Coming off of the gym, coming off of the kids thing, if moms are, you know, putting their kids in here. And then you've got the educational wing and the gym, which I'll zoom in on. This shows a configuration of the gym in auditorium seating. This shows the gym if it was in a reception, okay? All right, now let me see if I can zoom in here. All right, so you see kind of the idea of how that would look.
How many people?
What's that?
How many people?
How many people? Does it seat? It is I don't see it on here.
480.
480, thank you. Auditorium seating, why would we need that? We have an auditorium. Well, it could be very helpful for certain events, like, for instance, this youth thing with Bosler, putting all your teens out in the gym. They're muddy, they're dirty. I did a lot of my teen events in a gymnasium. Not too many teen events happen in an auditorium. Bible Adventure Camp would certainly could take advantage of this. Also, if we're doing some renovations in one part of the building, you have this other opportunity as well. All right, let me zoom back into the back of it. All right, so you've got some locker rooms. Women's locker room up here and a men's locker room up here. They're even careful with the line of sight so that if guys or girls are changing, there's no issues there. But very spacious shower and locker area. This is a backstage area. You saw there's foldable bleachers, but if you noticed in the video, these foldable bleachers get pushed back, and then we can put in a stage. It is a mobile stage that would be stored back here. That comes apart in pieces. You can bring it out, and you can set up your stage right here. And then, of course, just have more flexibility that way. And you've got another storage room. This has an overhead doors, and you may have noticed in the flyover, there is a driveway going out here. So sometimes it's nice to have a place where you can back a truck up in a ministry like ours. Right now, Rachel takes little carts back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it'd be nice to be able to just back up a truck, pull up a door, and unload. This could be used as all sorts of things. If we build this in stages, the gym would more than likely be phase 1, and so this room could be a classroom in phase 1. It's not designed to be a classroom long term, but we could use these for various things. This is a room that could be used for video production or all sorts of things, multi-purpose, but a couple of rooms here, all right? There is place for a divider, to put a divider across so you can have volleyball on one side, basketball on the other, etc. All right, now moving over. Here's that lobby area. You have the little coffee corner, an entrance to the gym, an entrance to the educational wing, kiosks to check your kids in. There's some seating here, and this goes out to that atrium, or what do you want to call that, entrance area, security office, mechanical, and the extended kitchen. And all of our kitchen ladies said amen. That wasn't very okay. But this one supposedly will have, if we are able, would be equipped to cook. Currently, we don't cook in our kitchen. It's more of a staging area. All right, so that's this. Then the youth room is right here. So senior high, junior high, janitorial, restroom. We'll zoom over there. All right, you see a youth room, and it's got a door here. So this could have access to the rest of the building, but the rest of it could be closed down, locked, or you could choose to lock this as well if you needed that. So there's some options security-wise. So junior high, senior high, a couple of middle school or elementary. Then you've got a classroom for younger kids, preschool, toddler, infant. They have their own restrooms, so you don't have to take them down the hall. All right, for little kids, it's nice to have a restroom right there. Restrooms right here. There is a restroom in the hallway, a couple of them, for those who need that. But you've got also a little play area here. Now, why do we have a play area here when there's a play area outside? Well, if you've been in Michigan for very long at all, you know, there's a good portion of the year where you're stuck inside. There's 2 overhead doors that can open up to the gym. So if we want this to be secure while the guys are having gym night, we can do that. If we want to open it up and spill over into the gym, that can be done as well. Have a rubber floor and so forth. So that's kind of the idea there. I'm going to take you to the end. So there's a resource room. This could be storage. It could be an office. It could be a lot of things. A welcome area, classroom, etc. Okay? You see these classrooms have doors that goes out into that outdoor play area that is also fenced in, secured. All right? Now we'll go down and look at the bottom here. All right. So the fellowship hall is unchanged. The offices get a little bit of a tweak, but not anything terrible. We moved that wall out. We changed some things inside. But it's the same general format that we're used to for the offices. We just get more space here as this now becomes a more main entrance. This entrance right here, you notice even on the outside, they built it out, all the glass and so forth. This really becomes the main entrance because it goes everywhere. You go to the gym, educational wing, fellowship hall, auditorium, all right? So this is a lot more spacious all the way along here. You'll notice is a lot more spread out. I want to introduce something here that they call a third space. If you're not familiar with that term, which I was not, a third space, I think, correct me guys if I got this wrong, but it's the idea of another place you can go to fellowship. So my first space would be my home. Maybe your second space is your work. Where do you go to fellowship or just, where you can just have some time together? Third place. All right. So in other words, the architects highly advised having a foyer where people felt comfortable to just talk, to hang out, to not feel like you have to be moving because someone's moving behind you, which in our current space, you get into a conversation and then pretty soon you're like, oh, you know what, I think I better be going, because we're getting moved. That's not ideal. A big part of church is fellowship, all right? You ought to be able to come and get into a conversation. Sometimes you're in a conversation in here, and then somebody starts practicing, and you can't hear yourself. So you move out here, well then, it's too crowded. By the way, we would have enough space now where we wouldn't have to practice in the auditorium as much. It would be nice, but... So the third space, you see these pillars, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the current wall. That's a load-bearing wall, so there'll be load-bearing pillars. This is the current size of what we've got. So we're talking about adding all of this, all right? That would really help. We have a single door currently. We'd have a double door and a double door. We got some chairs, tables, and this could look like anything. They're just giving us something to have an idea. Chairs, tables, areas for fellowship. We would also have our missions nook. Right now, we just have that one quick little mission spot. We have plans for an interactive missions nook. It's electronic. You can select Africa. It shows all the African missionaries. You select your guy, and it's got all the updates and so forth. So maybe a nook in here or something like that. All right. But this provides a lot more foyer area for fellowship. This room stays multi-use. This multi-purpose room would still be multi-use. Could be used for conference room, Faith Bible Institute, whatever we're doing with that. So these remain the same, and of course, all the bathrooms remain the same. So let me zoom back out and show you one more thing. All right, so as far as phases go, people want to know how many phases is this. It could be phased all sorts of different ways. The last talk we just had, Austin Fredrickson, the main architect, said if we could phase this out in 10 phases. I'm going, 10 phases? I don't want 10 phases. That sounds like, I'll play phase 10, the card game, but we're not doing this. They have suggested, though, 3 phases, all right? Phase 1 would be to build this gym. Phase 2 would be to build the educational wing. And I'm sorry, phase 1 also would include this whole swath. All right, so phase 1 is this, the connecting portion, and the office remodel, if you will. Phase 1, straight up and down. Phase 2, right here. phase 3 right here. Then phase 4 would be everything outside the mission house, the driveways and that kind of thing. All right, walkways. So that's kind of what they're thinking. Now, why would we do it that way? Really, you could make an argument that this should be phase 1, because this is what we're dying for right here. The problem is, you do this, and we just lost our nursery. So you have to have a place to put the kids. So that means this has to come before this. Does that make sense? So why don't we start with this? Well, the gym is the most versatile piece. You can do classrooms. You can break this up with dividers. You can do recreational space. This is only classrooms. Could be classrooms, recreation, everything. So we want to build the most versatile piece first, which would be the gym. Well, actually, we're calling it the Family Ministry Center. All right, I keep saying the gym. It's easier, but we want to call it what it is: a Family Ministry Center. It's going to be multi-purpose. It's not just for guys to play basketball. Sorry, guys. But we would start with the Family Ministry Center. Then we would go here, so we have our nurseries. Then we would do this so that we have more space here, and then start working on the outside. Now, again, God can do anything, and if enough money comes in, you can do phase 1 and 2 together, or phase 1, 2, and 3 together. You save money the more you do together. For every time they have to pick up and go home, and then come back and then go home, the cost goes up. Now, sometimes you have to do it that way. But if we are able to combine some phases and leave them here, our cost actually goes down. It makes sense. So this is kind of what we're thinking at this point. The phase 1. Oh, now phase 1 can happen 2 different ways. Phase 1 could be this plus all of this, or it could just be this on an island. No connecting hallway, no hallway remodel, just literally a box on an island. All right, and that would also save money. So if we really have to make phase 1 trimmed down, it can be trimmed down. They don't recommend that, again, because it's going to cost us more in the long run, but there are options. All right, so that is pretty much the overview at this point. Gentlemen, did I miss anything? Jason, Suresh, Scott, Pete? Okay, as far as budget, bum, ba-dum, bum. How much does this thing cost? All right, well, we had a budget meeting, and it was very overwhelming. But again, I appreciate how these guys handled it. They think of everything. I've got like a 15-page budget. Anybody who wants to see it may. I don't have it printed. I don't have it available. If you want a copy, ask me. I'll print one for you, or I'll email it to you. No problem handing that out. Just bear in mind, as they do things, they're trying to be careful to not lowball. So they have budgeted down to every stick of furniture, every piece of pea gravel, every shrub that will be put in here, every sidewalk, every light fixture. Literally, I'm looking at this thing going, I mean, they covered everything, which is good, because otherwise you have somebody tell you, oh yeah, we can do it for this, but then you've got all the extras, everything else to outfit it, and so forth. They even have a contingency in there of stuff that maybe they haven't even thought of, which I'm thinking, how did you guys not think of anything? You thought of everything, right? So if you're wondering how much do these things cost, if we did this right here, this phase 1, and connected it, it's over $2 million just for this right here. Now that's mind-blowing, right? Because currently, oh, Pete, where's Pete? What did it cost for us to build this? Just this one.
About $750,000.
So there you go. $750,000 just to build this. And what did this cost? I should know this, guys. About the same? $750. This piece right here, down to here, is over $2 million. What? Yes, that was back in '95 that this was, correct. Good point. And this wing right here, I think, was just under $2 million, something like that. So you get the idea that this is not just going to build itself or whatever. But here's where I'm at on this. Okay, well, if we're going to do this, we want to do it right. We want to do it well. I don't want to get into it and realize we had the wrong insulation. We didn't have a certain building permit. He's got in his budget, he's got one sheet. All it is permits. They know every permit has to be pulled. They've got it all down. They do this. So I feel like when we go with them, they may not come in the lowest. Someone else could probably undermine this quote pretty easy. But I do feel like they're being very responsible, and they're being very realistic, and they're trying to make sure that we're not going to get caught off guard. What they do, is, and they've showed us this, they generally come in under budget. So I think that's their plan. Budget for the world, okay? Just make sure you take everything into account and then try to beat the budget. That makes them look good, right? And it makes us feel good. But so they're going to try to beat their budget. No, we can't bank on that, right? I can't tell you, oh, they said 2, it'll probably be 1.5. We're not going to say that. We'll plan on the budget, right? But I feel confident they're very good stewards in what they're doing and very knowledgeable. So what we need is we just need wisdom from the Lord, and we need, again, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint now. We need what Ezra and Nehemiah had, right? They had some clear leadership from the Lord. I'm looking for my... Okay, you know what? I must have taken that slide out. I apologize. Oh, here it is. I was in the wrong PowerPoint. It always helps to be in the correct PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. So as we move forward, we need God to strengthen our hands for the work. We need to know the call of God. What is He asking us to do? We need the hand of God. We need the enabling, the power of God. And I'm convinced that God can open doors and close doors, and if He does not want us going down a door, He can close a door. I've seen God close doors that I wanted to open so bad, and He closed them so firmly that He made His leadership known. And I'm just praying, Lord, if You don't want us to go down this door, close the door. Make it so clear. We're not trying to do something on our own. We want Him to do His will. And so that's my prayer, that God would help us and that He would prosper us. I want to give you this again. Nehemiah 2:20. Then answered I them and said unto the God of heaven, He will prosper us. Therefore we as servants will arise and build. The only reason we will arise and build is if we believe that God is prospering us. I also want to say this. I am not looking to get us in a place where we are vulnerable because of excessive debt. I've talked to some of you already about that. We want to raise money. Ideally, we'd raise 100% of it. All right? Someone might ask, how much are you willing to borrow, Pastor Barber? I'm not sure at this present moment. Okay? But I'm just asking God, we wouldn't have to borrow any or very, very little. We want to make sure that we're not in a place where we build a building, we have so much debt that now the debt is driving what we do. Every decision we make is, well, we have to pay the mortgage. So we can't do this. We can't afford that. We have to pay the mortgage. Oh, we can't. Don't lose the so-and-sos. Make sure the so-and-sos are happy because, if we lose their giving, then, I want to be caring about the so-and-sos for the so-and-sos, not because of the debt, all right? So pray with me on this. We want to be very responsible. We want to be very good stewards. We don't want to lag behind the Lord because of unbelief, but we don't want to run out ahead either. So we're seeking God together that He would prosper us and that He would make it so very clear the direction that we head. Now, I don't have time for a lot of questions in this setting. All right, it's already after 2, and I have another thing I want to do before we're done. Very quick. All right, but I want your questions. Okay, so, not at this present moment. I want your questions. So what I'm asking you to do is, please either catch me afterwards or email me if you're good at email, or set up a time if you've got several things you want to go over. I want to talk through this with you. I've already talked to some folks who've already come to me and had some great input. I love the input, and I want each one of you to feel like you are definitely a part of this. This is not my thing. This is our thing, if it's going to happen. So if you've got questions, I want you to be able to get answers and feel heard. Your voice matters. Give me a call. We'll set something up. Shoot me an email, or we'll work something out so that you can make sure that you've got your questions answered. All right?